Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark from the United States.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mark from the States. How are we doing today? I'm doing fantastic. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all of you. Of course I do. You guys are awesome. Big Fake Couch. Today, we're going to revisit with Alex in Great Britain. Love this channel. We've started a series that he's done. Of course, we've gotten his blessing to learn and see new things from his videos. So thank you, Alex. I really appreciate. There's a couple links below that'll take you to his channel. And of course, this video, if you don't want to hear me talk, which some of you have voiced that you don't, which is fine. I love it. It's okay. We have a saying, take what you want, leave the rest. He does a series that we're doing is the prettiest towns in said county. We've done Bedfordshire and Berkshire. I think I pronounced that right. Today, it's Buckinghamshire. So I love it because I get to see new places that I'd never heard of. And while I probably won't remember most of them, just based on the brief introduction that I'm getting, you know, it's really cool to see and see how they vary from town to town, and see the similarities from town to town too. So I love it. So come hang out with me. Thank you so much for just all the well wishes. We're good. As of right now, we're good. Thank you. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's do it.
Just northwest of London is the county of Buckinghamshire. This is a county of contrasts, from the rural villages of the Chiltern Hills to the Americanesque boulevards of Milton Keynes, as well as being the birthplace of arguably the most famous poem in the world. More on that later. But what are its prettiest towns? To establish this, I visited them all personally, and my conclusions are presented to you in this top 10 list. As per the rules of this series of videos, cities are included for consideration, however villages are not. And to add, this is neither a social commentary nor a guide on where's nicest to live. It is simply a beauty contest, judged by yours truly.
I love it.
So let's get straight to it. Number 10. Here's one for the trivia lovers right off the bat. What is the most northerly and most westerly station on the London Underground? And at that, a station which is neither in London nor underground. The answer is Chesham.
Chesham.
The industrial history of Chesham revolves around its so-called 4 Bs, namely boots, brushes, beer and Baptists. Boot and brush making, as well as brewing, were all industries here. As for the Baptists, this was a town of religious nonconformity, with many Baptists here being dissenters, going back to the 17th century. With the arrival of the railway here in 1889, Chesham became part of what's known as Metroland,
George
a
and
marketing
Dragon
by the train companies to promote the railway lines that eventually came to form the London Underground. The idea being that Londoners could take a single train journey here in order to escape to a pleasant market town away from the big smoke.
Yeah, I love this little
a
area
theme that
here.
may pop up again on this list. Number 9. Now, a town bordering Milton Keynes, separated only by the M1 motorway, may sound like an unlikely candidate for this list. But Buckinghamshire is a county full of surprises, and Newport Pagnell is one of them.
Newport Pagnell. Okay. So far, I haven't heard of either one of these two that he's mentioned so far.
With over 100 listed buildings, including the Grade 1 listed Tickford Bridge from 1810, Newport Pagnell's architecture alludes to its history. A number of former coaching inns here once served passengers travelling between Oxford and Cambridge and London and Leicester. In fact, the town could rightly claim to be a modern-day staging post, as Newport Pagnell Services has provided refreshment for motorists on the M1 since 1960. Number 8. Here's a small town straddled between the large towns of High Wycombe and Aylesbury.
Y'all know I love the roofs, the architecture. It's Tudor style. mixed with others. It's these thatched roofs are really cool. A lot of places have them. It's not unique to one place or the other, but it's just I just love. It's just fascinating.
A town fit for a prince. Prince's Risborough.
Prince's Risborough. Whew. Prince's Risborough. Okay. Curious how they get these names, right?
Various historic buildings give the town a real sense of charm. At the western end of the town centre
Look at
is
that.
St Mary's Church, dating back to the 13th century, albeit with a replacement
So
spire from the 20th century.
wild.
Then there's the understated Market House from 1824, demonstrating typical Georgian elegance. As for the name, well, the town was once a manor, which in the 14th century was granted to King Edward III's son, Edward, Prince of Wales, aka the Black Prince, who was outlived by his father by a single year. Number 7. If small market town charm is your cup of tea, well, here's the smallest town on this list, Winslow.
Winslow. I've heard of Winslow.
Although around 8 miles
That's
southwest
cool.
of Milton Keynes, the boulevards of MK are a far cry from the quaint church lanes of Winslow. The church in question is dedicated to St. Lawrence and dates back to the 14th
Beautiful.
century. In its immediate surroundings are several picturesque timber-framed houses, some with thatched roofs. Also of note is the 17th century former coaching inn, the Bell Hotel. Just like its namesake Winslow, Arizona, you can certainly take it easy in Winslow, Buckinghamshire.
Nice little Eagles reference. Never been to Winslow, Arizona as well.
I had to work a little to get that Eagles reference in there. Number 6. At the foot of the Chiltern Hills and around 5 miles
What does it say? RAF Halton or Heighton? Is that an L or an I?
southeast of Aylesbury is
Hatton. Or is that Hatton? Looks like Halton. RAF Halton.
our next entry, Wendover.
Wendover.
Now,
I've heard
if
of
you like
Wendover.
thatched roofs, then the previous entry at Winslow was merely the starter. The main course is right here at Wendover. In fact, there's one street that's almost entirely made up of thatched cottages.
Wow,
The
look at that.
backstory is also impressive, as these were a wedding gift to Anne Boleyn from Henry VIII.
Ah,
A number of former coaching inns also grace the town, whose passing trade has included Oliver Cromwell and Robert Louis Stevenson. Number 5.
very
Here's a
cool.
riddle for you. How does one town end up with 2 town centres? Well, in this case, and perhaps one more further up the list, the answer has to do with the railway. The town is Beaconsfield, and the decision at the turn of the 20th century to place its
Beaconsfield.
railway station about a mile north of the town centre produced something quite unusual. An old town and a new town. Unusual outside of continental Europe, at least. Naturally, for this list, we're interested in the Old Town. Being situated right on the old stagecoach road between London and Oxford accounts for its simple crisscross layout and the various former coaching inns which can be found here. It's also worth noting that the average property here is over £1 million, which actually makes it more expensive than
Wow.
several boroughs of London.
Okay.
I may expand on that thought in a future video.
So very
But the
affluent.
new town, not pictured here, absorbed much of the 20th century development,
That's
leaving Beaconsfield Old Town suitably
sweet.
rustic looking.
That's cool.
Although, granted, the timber-framed buildings seen here are typically late 19th century mock Tudor refrontings.
Mock Tudor.
Number 4. Now, if you're looking for towns with rich histories, a good rule of thumb is to start with the name of the county and work from there. In this case, we of course come to Buckingham.
Buckingham.
This is indeed a historic
Of course
town,
I've
which
heard of
was once a
Buckingham.
frontier between the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings. In 1725, a great fire broke out in Buckingham, which consumed over a third of the buildings in the town. By
Fire.
happenstance, this was
Fire. Just can't get away from it. So far, these a lot of them look similar. They look very similar. But one thing I've noticed through the three videos in this series that we've seen is a lot of just peacefulness. A lot of them look very chill, calm, low, relaxing kind of places. Which of course they're just towns, but some towns you can just feel there's a little more hustle and bustle, but a lot of these are just very laid back. It looks like, I could be totally off base. Some of these places that we see could be total raucous places to be when the sun goes down.
Would ultimately help transform the town into a vision of elegant Georgian architecture. Among its notable buildings are the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul, which dates from the late 18th century, Buckingham Town Hall from circa 1783, and the old jail from 1748, designed to resemble a castle for effect.
That is cool. And I just love it says Buckingham Old Jail. And then, of course, most people like me would know that says jail, but I've learned through all of you. That's awesome. That is so cool.
All that's really missing is a railway station. There was one, but Richard Beeching closed it in the 60s, along with over 2,000 other stations. Thanks a bunch, Richard. Number 3. Now it's time for a cameo from the River Thames. After the county borders were tinkered with in 1974, Buckinghamshire was left with just one town on the Thames, and that town is Marlow.
Marlow.
Anyone fortunate enough to have visited
awesome-looking
Budapest
bridge
may experience a sense of déjà vu at Marlow. The reason being, the town suspension bridge was designed by William Tierney Clark and is, to all intents and purposes, a miniature prototype of Budapest's Széchenyi chain bridge, which spans the Danube, also designed by Tierney Clark. Meanwhile, the many Georgian buildings in Marlow's town centre are quite the feast for the eyes. But the main reason for me not giving Marlow a high podium finish is this. Riverside walks here are somewhat lacking, at least when compared to its upstream neighbour in Oxfordshire, Henley-on-Thames. Nevertheless, there's a lot to like about Marlow, which is, by the way, the hometown of one of Great Britain's finest Olympians, Sir Steve Redgrave. Number 2.
I like Marlow. So far, Marlow, the last two have really... I've liked them all, but Marlow is pretty cool. I love this right here, seeing the flags out like that. I know that's because of some celebration going to be happening here, but I just dig it. And whatever this thing here is in the middle, I can't read it, but yeah, I dig it. Marlow. Plus, I just like the name.
Sir Steve Redgrave. Number 2. For the runner-up, we reprise the theme of one town, two town centres. This one takes us back to Metroland, where the list began. We now look at the other northwestern terminus of the Metropolitan line, Amersham.
Amersham.
Now, in common with another previous entry, namely Beaconsfield, Amersham is home to a similar folly, that of its railway village masquerading as the town centre, commonly referred to as Amersham on the Hill, whereas the town centre that matters as far as this list is concerned is naturally Old Amersham. This is the result of topography. While the stagecoaches of old used the low ground, the railway chose the high ground, as the navvies who laid the track would have otherwise turned the Metropolitan Railway into, well, a literal roller coaster. The outcome of this parallel town centre situation, whether intended or not, is quite remarkable. The brunt of the subsequent 20th century development was absorbed by Amersham on the Hill, while Old Amersham, i.e. the one you've been looking at, remained almost frozen in time aesthetically. In fact, Jane Austen herself wouldn't look out of place walking down the high street here.
Huh.
Worthy of individual note is the King's Arms, with some of the finest Tudor-era timber framing in the whole country, outside of Warwickshire perhaps.
That's cool.
Number 1. And the top spot goes to the county's most northerly town, Olney. Now, Olney is
I've heard
home
of
to
Olney.
the annual pancake race, a ladies-only event where participants race through the town centre, each carrying a pancake in a frying pan, as you do. But there's another claim to fame lying
As you
within
do.
these very streets, and this is the story of some of the most famous lines ever committed to paper. During the 1770s, the parish priest at the Church of Saints Peter and Paul was John Newton. As a former sailor in the Royal Navy, Newton had witnessed the horrors of slavery firsthand. In fact, he himself was a slave at one point. Based on his past experience, he authored the following words: "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see."
Wow.
This became strongly associated with the abolitionist movement. Newton would later team up with William Wilberforce on a 20-year-long campaign to end the transatlantic slave trade. The bill passed in 1807. Aside from the cars and the tarmac, the streets of Olney look almost exactly the same today as they did in the 1770s when the immortal words were penned. And that concludes my list.
That's incredible.
As usual, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments below, whether you agree or disagree. The plan with this series is to get around every single county in England, so hit that subscribe button if you'd like to stay in the loop. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Please get over there and support Alex and his endeavors. Like I said, this is awesome. I've actually heard maybe half of those places that he mentioned. Don't know much about them. You get just a brief look. I know I say wow and cool, and I say all those things over and over and over. I don't know how to express myself eloquently. I apologize, but it seems to be what I do in these videos, is because I'm just looking at them for the first time going, oh, that is so cool, or that is awesome. But not really knowing too much about it. There's not a whole lot I can say, but that last one, only with its connection to fighting slavery, and being kind of left as it was way back when, since way back when, excuse me. I don't know how you can beat it. But those last 4 on the list were all top-notch. Really, really enjoyed this one. Buckinghamshire. Very cool. There I am again. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all of you. I hope you know that. This was fun. It's always fun. It's always fun looking at these videos. Go support Alex. Links will be below. Thank you. And if you live in any of these places or visited, let me know. Give me a little fact that wasn't expressed here. Or if you do live in a town in Buckinghamshire that's not on the list, please state your case. I would love to hear it and read it. Thank you so much to everyone. Hope everybody's happy, healthy, and safe. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care. All right, bye.
Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark. And he's from